Yes, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back on this beautiful Sunday evening slash night, where I do come to you live from Kampala, Uganda, following up on that game between Morocco and Comoros, which is the opening game of the Africa Cup of Nations 2025 edition. Yesterday, of course, we did bring to you the news of the adjustments that have been made to the Africa Cup of Nations, not particularly with this tournament, nor the next, or nor the one subsequent to that, but it is set to be a, it's set to be happening once in every 4 years, just like you have the World Cup, just like you have the Euros. That's what has been said. Anyway, the game between Comoros and Morocco is back for the second half, with the game still goalless. Morocco missed a penalty in the 11th minute of that game. Rahimi was the suspect or the culprit who missed that penalty. Very, very strong Moroccan side who unfortunately lost their skipper in Romain Saiss, who suffered an injury and had to be withdrawn. Otherwise, Naif Agad, Anas Salah, Nusa Mazori, Bono were the starters in that backline. Then Onahi, Sofian Amrabat, Ismail Saibari, Brahim Diaz, Sofiane Rahimi, who missed the penalty, alongside Neil El Anoue were the starters. So the up aggressive Comoros side, who are making their second return to the Africa Cup of Nations, of having featured in the 2021 edition, for those of you that can't remember. So it's still goalless. We're back for the second half, and it is in the 49th minute. We will keep our tabs on that game. But must I warn, this will be a very short broadcast because I'm really, really exhausted. But nonetheless, I figured since it's the only broadcast that we do on a Sunday, we ought to do something. And we are here. Of course, Barcelona winners from the weekend. Unfortunately, I've not had the opportunity to watch any football this weekend, this particular Sunday, other than the game between Morocco and Comoros, particularly because I had a function to attend. So I just returned from that function about an hour or so ago. So yeah, please indulge with me when I just go through some of these things, through the headlines of them, because I did not get the opportunity to watch any of those ties. So particularly the game between Manchester United and Aston Villa is one that I would have loved to watch, but like I said, I missed out on watching because of because I was away attending that function. I tried to watch it on my phone, but the internet speed was really, really bad. I only caught a few glimpses here and there, and I gave up on it because the bandwidth was really, really poor. So I could not carry on with it. Really. So, but yeah, it is what it is. United, of course, got beat. Our own prediction on the channel here had been a 2-all draw. They fell short of that as they lost by 2-1. Released Aston Villa won their 10th consecutive game as far as across all competitions are concerned. So, I mean, the concern, are you providing online football? Are you providing online football course that is unknown trailer? No, it's not an online football course, but it is a football channel where we get to discuss matters regarding football, particularly from the Premier League, Africa Cup of Nations, Spanish La Liga, and everything to do with football, wherever the headlines are. But at least the Premier League is a very, very dominant feature on this channel. So yeah, like I said, Welcome to the channel. I'm joining you from live from Kampala, Uganda, and Robert Kesakos is my name. So yeah, I thought, like I said, I didn't watch the game. I managed to catch a few glimpses of highlights, but I thought Manchester United were really poorly defended. Their goal, I mean, that first goal that they conceded against Morgan Rogers, they should have been doing better to close the player down before he gets that strike off. I mean, you can't blame it on Senny Lomans. It was a flying shot by a player who is really on form. He scored a brace today, the second consecutive brace in the Premier League, having scored one against West Ham as they won their game by 3-2 the previous weekend. So that's the kind of player that we're talking about. We're talking about the kind of player who is starting games ahead of the likes of Phil Foden, ahead of the likes of Cole Palmer, ahead of the likes of Jude Bellingham, sometimes even a Beleche Eze at the England national team. So that's a Morgan Rogers for you. That's Morgan Rogers for you. Very brilliant player. He scored a brace as they beat Manchester United by 2-1. Matthias Cunha scored what turned out to be a mere consolation for that Manchester United side. That was a goal that came in the 3rd minute of stoppage time of the first half. Only 3 minutes after Morgan Rogers had scored to open the scoring in what had been a game that had, been a deadlock until that moment. And then in the 57th minute, he scores to make it 2-1. And that turned out to be the match winner. When you look at United dominated majority of the affairs of that game, but what specific benefits do the information you provide have for a person? If you're passionate about football, that shouldn't be a question. You ought to have the passion for the game. You ought to have an appreciation for the game of football. It's like our mantra says, for the fans, by the fans. So if you're a fan of football, we get to interact here about your favorite teams. You get to have your input, you get to have your say about your respective teams. And that's the gist of the discussion. So what if Barcelona wins? What if Barcelona wins what? What if Barcelona wins what? They did win their game today by 2-0. Does it make me rich? Should it make you rich? You do not support a team for a living as a job. That's not what it is. I don't know what your expectations are particularly, but or what country you're from, because maybe I could draw examples based on that. For example, let's say if you're from India, you could be a cricket fan. Is it what puts your money in your pocket? It could be. If you're a player, if you work within the circle of the cricket as a game. If you're a football player, same thing. You could be making money off of football. If you're a football player, you could be working at a football club, whatever your role is, so you could be making money off of it. But for us here, it's a fans forum. It's for the fans, by the fans. We get to discuss teams, we get to discuss players, assess what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, what they need to improve, what's happening at teams, team news, and things like that. It's just that simple. For example, if you're a chess player or a chess fan, you support it because you love the game. If you're a darts fan, that's basically what it is, I don't know what you mean by hellfire. Do you have intentions of going to hell? Unless you do. So anyways, like I said, Manchester United dominated the key affairs of the game. Ball possession, 57%. They had a 1.3 expected, goals compared to Aston Villa's 1.02. They had 15 shots on goal with 6 on target for Manchester United and only 12 shots for Aston Villa with just 4 on target. But they turned out to be the match winners. Both teams had 5 corner kicks. Manchester United had 2 saves released. Aston Villa had 5. So you could say the best team lost on the day. The best team lost on the day. Oh, Morocco have opened the scoring at long last. At long last, they break the deadlock and they have a goal in the 56th minute of the game. Brahim Diaz there with a goal that is given Morocco the lead against Comoros. I did mention that I view Morocco as one of the favorites to win this tournament. Given their performances at the FIFA World Cup back in 2022 in Qatar, there's suddenly that expectation on their shoulders that they should be winning. Nusa Mazori providing the assist, controls the ball in the box, fights for to keep it, makes the cutback for Ruben Diaz, and he puts it in the back of the net. That's from the Real Madrid star, Brahim Diaz. So it's 1-0 to Morocco, the host nation. So, yeah. Was I disappointed? Not really. Maybe I was disappointed that we would not get our prediction right. Football says, do you play Roblox? I do not know what Roblox is. Indulge me, please. What is that? What is Roblox? I don't know what that is. So, anyways, the victory meant that Aston Villa stayed within touching distance with table leaders Arsenal, because that result put them to 36 points, only 3 behind Arsenal and just a point behind Manchester City, who occupy second place with 37 points. They are the most on-form team in as far as the Premier League is concerned, and Manchester City, in addition, they are the 2 most on-form teams in as far as winning, I think, the last 5 games is concerned. I cannot believe he just said that. A game. Oh, this is Hashibira says, what is that? What is that question? A game. I cannot believe he's just said that. I do not know what it is. I don't know if it's a game. I don't know if it's an insult. I do not know. I do not know. I do not know what that is. So really, forgive me. Forgive my ignorance if you think it's something that I should be knowing. But yeah, it's a forum where we get to learn new things for as long as they are football related, So I think I'll keep it at that for Manchester United. But like I said, Man United were forced into an early substitution. That was withdrawing their captain, Bruno Fernandes, at halftime, and was replaced by Lisandro Martinez to play midfield, because Kobe Mainu, who was expected to start this game in the absence of Casemiro, who was serving a suspension, having accumulated 5 yellow cards, got himself injured, I think, in the build-up or in the warm-up to this game, is put the fries in the bag, Uncle. Oh, you're talking about Premier League. Yes, we're talking about Premier League football, but we are also following the game between Morocco and Comoros, and that game is 1-0 thanks to Brahim Diaz scoring to give Morocco the lead. Hashibira says, I'm Arsenal. Okay, you're an Arsenal fan. Do let me know, what were your thoughts about yesterday's game? Arsenal winning away to Everton by 1-0 twice, I think, twice or thrice. They hit the upright through Leandro Trossard and through Martin Zubimendi. They were denied by the upright. What were your thoughts on that game from yesterday? So yeah, I thought overall, based on the highlights that I've managed to watch, it was an okay game. Manchester United just did not have the knack and the clinicalness they needed to get a result or a point out of that game and on the match. Aston Villa with that win. So it was the only game played today in the Premier League. Then quickly in the Spanish La Liga, Girona were beaten up by 3 goals to nil by Atletico de Madrid with Conor Gallagher, Koke, and Antoine Griezmann scoring the 3 goals in that game. Barcelona went away to the Yellow Submarines of Villarreal and beat them by 2 goals to nil, thanks to a penalty by Rafinha in the 12th minute and another goal by Lamine Yamal. Then Elche put 4 past Rayo Vallecano, and as we speak, Real Betis are leading Getafe by 1 goal to nil in the 28th minute. In the German Bundesliga, Bayern Munich beat up against Heidenheim by 4 goals to nil. Hurricane among the goal scorers there. Luis Diaz, also back on the score sheet, Michael Olise and Stanisic, which means that Hurricane has wrapped up the calendar year 2025 with 60 goals, but also set himself a record by becoming the fastest German Bundesliga player to reach 100 goals, having done it in about 76 or 78 games. That are about very, very impressive for the England striker and everything. Okay, so really, beautiful stuff there for Hurricane, but at least the German Bundesliga is wrapped up for 2025. They go for a winter break. Meanwhile, the other game ended in a goalless draw between Mainz and St. Pauli, while in the Italian Serie A, Pisa and Cagliari shared the spoils in a 2-2 draw. Torino beat Sassuolo by 1 goal to nil away from home, while Fiorentina managed to win a game of football. I think for literally for the first time this season, they managed to win a game of football, and oh my, they did it in style, winning 5-1 against Udinese there. And as we speak, Genoa and Atlanta is still goalless in as far as the Italian Serie A is concerned. Meanwhile, that game between Morocco and Comoros is entered into the 64th minute, but it is still a 1-0 in favor of the home side or the host nation. Then, okay, quickly. I don't know what to make of this, but there's something that I thought. Yes, the other thing. Oh my! This Comoros goalkeeper, if he continues like this, may go down as the goalkeeper of the tournament, or at least for the group stages. He's been really, really immaculate in the opening 65 minutes of the game. Really, he's been quite impressive for this Comoros side. But like I was saying, the other news is regarding Liverpool star Alexander Isak. We know he suffered an injury and was forced off in their 2-1 victory against Tottenham Hotspur on Saturday. Now, according to David Ornstein of The Athletic, he says Liverpool fear Alexander Isak suffered a significant injury in challenge while scoring Saturday's victory at Tottenham. Remember, he scored that goal to open the scoring, but he was challenged by Mickey van de Ven, who tackled him and he injured himself. He did not even get up to go and celebrate his goal. He did not even celebrate his goal. He seemed to be in distress, almost near tears, if he didn't shed some few, so it looked really, really nasty for him. My fear for him was the way he sort of lay there in pain. It had those kinds of feeling where players do their ACL. I hope it's not that bad, but according to the Athletic, Liverpool's concern relates to the 26-year-old Sweden striker's lower left leg, and intend to confirm once an MRI sky results arrive. So it looks like It's not a knee injury as first feared, but rather in his lower left leg. Not that it makes it any easier, but we know the complications that usually come with knee injuries. They tend to be nasty, and they may tend to keep players out for a long period of time. Look at Kai Havertz for the Arsenal. He only featured for Arsenal on the opening day or the opening weekend of the Premier League, in coming on as a substitute in Arsenal's 1-0 victory against Manchester United away at Old Trafford. And ever since then, he's not been able to return to action. Why? Because he suffered that knee injury and he's been out of action since then. So we all know what the severity or the challenge can be when it comes to knee injuries. But we'll wait and hear from Liverpool once that MRI scan has been conducted, and we know the actual extent of his injury. Okay. So yeah, I thought those are some of the highlights of the day that I ought to pick up on for you. Like I said, guys, this will be a very short broadcast. Tomorrow, the Premier League does continue to wrap up match day 17 of the Premier League with a game between Fulham and Nottingham Forest, Monday Night Football at 11 p.m. So do not miss out on that action. Then on Tuesday, there will be a game between Arsenal and Crystal Palace in the fourth quarterfinal game of the EFL Cup, and whoever advances between those two sides will meet Chelsea at the semi-finals. So that's what you should expect during the coming couple of days. There. Now, briefly back to the Africa Cup of Nations. I told you there were changes. One, here's how the changes are going to be gone about. And to give you context, okay, it was announced yesterday that the Africa Cup of Nations will be played once every 4 years, but that will start in 2032. As things stand, we'll play and finish the AFCON 2025, which is ongoing. Today is the opening day. Then, after that, we'll play Africa Cup of Nations 2027, the Pamoja, which will be hosted by 3 East African countries of Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. Then, after that, we'll play the Africa Cup of Nations for the 2028 edition. Now, the reason as why they are playing that 2028 edition is because they are switching to a 4-year period or to a 4-year cycle. For those of you that care to remember, initially we used to have the Africa Cup of Nations being played twice, but on even years. And then they switched from even years to odd years to avoid playing the competition in a same year that also has the World Cup. That change was made, I think, prior to the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations. The Africa Cup of Nations edition that Zambia won at the expense of Ivory Coast on post-match penalties. Then, so when it's played in 2012, they also played a 2013 edition, which Nigeria won. I think they beat up against Burkina Faso by 1-0 in the final. So from there, we played 2013 and then 2015. So it remained a 2-year cycle, but in odd years, so that there's no single time where you're playing an Africa Cup of Nations at the same time in the same year where you have the World Cup. Now, one would ask, what did that happen in this 4-year cycle? No, the chances of that happening are very lean or close to non-existent if circumstances do not change. Why? Because the first edition of that 4-year cycle will come in 2032. After the 2028 Africa Cup of Nations edition, it will come in 2032. That will be 2 years after we will have watched the World Cup in 2030, which will be hosted by Portugal, Spain, and Morocco, with some few games played in South America, I think in Uruguay, Paraguay, and possibly Argentina to mark 100 years of the World Cup. So that is the context. However, it will be played in the same year with the Euros. That's what you should expect. So remember, there's Euro 2028, Euro 2032. So, however, still expect Africa Cup of Nations to be played in its own time, not to try and compete for TV time with the Euros, which are oftentimes played in the summer post a league season. Then, also, CAF announced that they will be doing away with the CHAN, that's the African Nations Championships, which was a tournament being played in by local best players. In other words, only players of a particular country playing within their own domestic league were allowed to play in that competition. The competition sought to, shed more light or to give exposure to local talent for them to get, opportunities elsewhere. Then they will be doing away with CHAN and they will be introducing a new competition called the African Nations League that will start in 2029. It will be played every 2 years and it will be played in odd years. That's why it will be in 2029. Now, in that, according to initial reports, all 54 countries, African countries, will be involved. The countries will be segmented into regions, and those regions will play more like a league format, a round-robin league format, I expect at least. But we'll get to know the details of that much later. And then whoever tops, or depending on the criteria that they will have set CAF, whoever tops the respective region will meet at the overall continent level for what will be the climax of the competition and play maybe a semi-final and then eventually a final to determine who will be champion for the African Nations League. So those are some of the changes. Then there's also change in prize money. When you go back to 2010, the winner of the Africa Cup of Nations was receiving 500,000 US dollars. Now, in the previous edition, this is under the leadership of Patrice Motsepe, that money had been increased, not directly from $500,000, but from 5 million to, initially it was increased from 3 million to 5 million, and then it was increased to 7 million. Now they've increased it to 10 million US dollars for the prize money for the winner. And I think the runners up will be taking 4 million euros. Then also the winner for the CAF Champions League, yes, that's our CAF's premier tournament or competition on the continent, has an improvement in terms of money that they will be earning through winning the Africa Champions League. So there's been quite a number of changes to that effect. So we'll have to wait and see, but at least there are changes they're geared towards the right direction in terms of, improving and elevating African football. It's 2-0, goal for Morocco. Is it El Kabi? It's raining, really, really pouring in the stadium, but he scored quite the stunning goal to make it a 2-0, really, to make it 2-0. I mean, the opening fixture has not disappointed, in my opinion. First of all, the dominant team is winning, but Comoros have not been taken down cheaply or easily. Let's see this once again. Oh, It's a glorious bicycle kick of a goal. It's a glorious bicycle kick of a goal. Beautiful. He gets a fine touch to that and hits the back of the net. Beautiful goal there to make it 2-0 for Morocco. So, like I was saying, prize monies across Africa, AFCON, sorry, CAF's competitions are going to increase, which is really impressive in terms of helping federations continue to build, in terms of facility development, in terms of talent nurturing, depending on how the respective winning federations go on to use those respective resources that they will have won at the respective competitions, whether it's the CAF Confederations Cup, whether it's the CAF Champions League, whether it's the Africa Cup of Nations. So yeah, that's what's happening. Anyways, guys, like I said, it's quite tiring. It's been a very long day for me. Allow me wrap it up here and wish you a blessed night. I will continue to watch this game. That's the game between Morocco and Comoros to its conclusion, and then I'll be off to bed. Like I said, I'm really exhausted. I have a sleep deficit that I've been fighting throughout the course of the day. So yeah, stay blessed and let's meet tomorrow at 9 a.m. Uh, God, God willing. Bye bye for now.